Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lawrence Common Council um, Energy Savings Committee meeting. Today is June 26th, and we're getting started at 6:10. The purpose of today's meeting is to get some background information about and kind of bring us back up to speed related to what energy savings is all about. Today, we will not be discussing the particulars of our upcoming project. We'll reserve that for a later meeting, but I wanted to make sure that the councilors and everyone were comfortable with understanding the road work, the framework of the project. Energy savings has some couple different particulars that are advantageous for municipalities like us, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us to take advantage of that. And so we want to let these guys come up and kind of explain exactly, the program moving forward. Okay. Good. All right. So. First person on the agenda, first organization on the agenda is a presentation by the Perfection Group. I would ask the counselors, allow them to kind of get through their presentation, and then I assume they will reserve some time for us to have some Q&A. All right, well, Perfection's representation, please come up to the podium, get started.
Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Rob Volrath. I'm a VP of Business Development for Perfection Group. With us in the audience, we got John Albrecht. He's the owner of our company, as well as he oversees all of engineering. So he's the one that signs off on these programs when we're putting these things together, because there's state oversight involved. So John's the one that does that for our organization. Greg Horns, our lead engineer, that's involved in helping to develop the scope and savings for this specific project. And Justin Jezierski is our project consultant who assists Greg. And so first, just want to say thanks for having us here. Also, thanks to the staff. They've been very accommodating and helpful in getting us all the information we need to start putting this program together. So we're only as good as the information we get. So just want to say thanks to them. Just a real quick agenda. As Councilman Giles said, we're just going to give a quick overview of what energy savings performance contracting is, just as a refresher. It's been a while since we've been up here. What some of the program benefits are designed for from the statute, which is Indiana Code 36-1-12.5. Just the overall risk assessment of these types of programs versus traditional construction. Current items that we've identified that are in need of replacement that we'll be submitting a proposal on, and then some additional scope that's in development now. So that's really the highlights of what we're going to be talking about. So the state of Indiana, the Indiana General Assembly in 1994 passed Indiana Code 36-1-12.5, which is designed for cities and counties and schools, local government agencies to be able to make needed infrastructure improvements without requiring capital from inside the operating budgets. So it's set up to be able to finance improvements and utilize guaranteed savings to help pay for the program. One of the nice things about the program is we typically see anywhere between 15 to 30% reduction in the utility and operating expenses associated with the improvements that we develop. We work with a lot of municipalities across Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and these are some of the key benefits that we have found that this program utilizes, and why a lot of different entities leverage this procurement vehicle to make building improvements, because the first three things on there you see is there's a guarantee associated with the program. So there's a guarantee on the cost, there's a guarantee on the savings, and guarantee on the performance. So we are really the single point of accountability for these types of programs. So we're designing it, we're installing some of the pieces of the equipment, we're bidding it, we're project managing it, we're involved in securing the financing. It's really a turnkey proposal designed to allow all of these improvements to be made under one point of contact. And then another big component of it is the financing. It is, under the statute, exempt from the net allowed indebtedness, so it's not going to impact your borrowing or bonding capacity. It doesn't hit your cap. And then it is a long-term partnership. When we develop these programs, for as long as the project is financed, we have to provide documentation to the state verifying that we're meeting all of our guarantees associated with the program. So John and his team develop a report and they send it, we go over it with the city every year after construction for every year that it's financed, and then we go over the results with the city, and then we have to submit that to the state. So this is another reason this thing has become so popular, is just the risk shift to the contractor. In a traditional construction program, you typically can hire an architect or an engineer. They'll put together a bid package, and then they'll put that out. They'll manage the project, and then everything else the city's responsible for. In this procurement vehicle, everything is under one house, like I talked about earlier, but all the risk is shifted to the contractor. So the scheduling risk, financing risk, design risk, the accountability for the results, project management. So if anything goes wrong on the project during construction, 3 years later, anytime during the financing period, to resolve those issues. That make sense? And then these are items that we've identified on their useful life, meaning they outlast, they're out, most of them are, or all of them, they've exceeded their useful life. So they're in need of replacement. So these are the things that we've identified that are past their useful life and that we'll be delivering a turnkey proposal on. If you have any specific questions about any of these items that we're in the process of pricing and delivering to the administration, that's why Greg's here. He's been instrumental in physically going through all of the bills, as well as he's been to the locations multiple times to identify different solutions for these facilities. So it's the fire stations, the community center, and then all the street lights, utility, as well as city-owned lights, and then park lighting at multiple park facilities.
Excuse me, is there a reason why some are highlighted in blue? I'll just show my ignorance, I guess, and the other ones are not?
It's just our logo color. It's just a marketing thing.
Oh, I thought there was a reason you highlighted some and not the other.
Yeah, it's just to make it a little more visually soft on the eyes.
Community center, what are you calling community center? This building?
No, that's
Lawrence Park?
No, it's just at the park.
I'm sorry?
It's the building at the park.
Okay, Lawrence Park. Okay, all right, thank you.
And then additional scope that's in development, we're looking at items in this facility as well as possibly some other facilities that we're examining right now to make sure we can identify stuff that's going to have the best net economic benefit for the city. So that's really, we wanted to give you guys up to speed on overview of the legislation, the statute, what we've been working on, and we're hoping to have the proposal back to the administration in the next 30 to 60 days.
All right, guys. Excuse me. Rob, I got a question. You can go back to the previous slide. It's just some vocabulary because I'm just not familiar. Excuse my ignorance. Building automation and building envelope. What is that in a more layman's term?
Sure. Building automation is just the control systems that control the heating and cooling
Okay.
in the facilities. And the building envelope are things like windows, roofs, doors.
Okay. And then the other on 36?
Greg, what is that?
Actually, that is a small control that would go on the vending machine that's there. Very small, but it's called a Venmizer. But basically, it cycles the unit when it needs to be running and not when it doesn't need.
Penny saved is a penny earned, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Counselors, do you have any particular questions for Mr. Volgraff?
I do. So you're putting together, I guess, I'm trying to remember and do my Wayback Machine thing here. Back, I think the last time we met was in July of last year. Is that correct?
Something, yeah.
With Kathy. And I looked it up, and that's my understanding is the last time that we met here in this room to discuss this. My remembrance, of that meeting was there was already a proposal that had been given, and I had asked you guys if you were comfortable with that, and you said you were not, that you were going to revise it within, say, 60 days. So I guess I'm confused is, because there was originally a proposal submitted, maybe 3-4 years ago, and then there was one that you were going to revise sometime, maybe say August or October of last year. So now we're waiting on another proposal, is that correct?
So the initial proposal was significantly different in scope than what we've landed on here. So a lot of the buildings that were in the initial proposal from 3 or 4 years ago are not on this board up here. And then the utility-owned streetlights were not in the program before. There was not a program available for utility-owned streetlights. That's been the thing that's had the longest lead time, waiting on IPL to develop that, because there's significant utility savings associated with that, and we wanted to make sure that was in the program, and we were at the mercy of them.
Is your organization looked at the new police station that they're currently building? Have you looked at the drawings, plan, nothing on that?
No,
And that's not on here either.
no, that's a new construction. That's not something, we're looking strictly at building renovation.
But it would have to be automated. I mean, it would have to have automation of the control system, and the same as all the other buildings, would it not? I mean, I don't have any idea. Maybe that's already included in what they're doing in the bid when they built the building. I have no idea. But
Yeah. That's separate from what we're looking at.
Okay.
We're not looking at
It
that.
wouldn't qualify under energy savings because it's a new construction, right?
Correct.
oh, okay, because it is a new building, and okay, I understand. So let me try to recap or try to remember, because like I said, this has been some time. There were other bids, were there not?
See, I think if I can inject in here a little bit, I think to help you out, Counselor, I think what initially happened was they were the only people that had a proposal because they had a proposal created under the previous administration. When we
Right.
received all of those things from multiple people, those weren't proposals, those were qualifications, requests for qualifications. And then from that point, that's when we made our selection off of those organizations that submitted their qualifications. Then we went with, so then we made our selection to Perfection. Then Perfection, happened to give us that old proposal that they had previously done some years before. And then that's when they said they were going to go back and revise. And that is the proposal that we will be seeing at our next meeting. I just wanted to make sure that we understood what energy savings was as a program overall, so that when we get into the details of our particulars, we got the background of what's really kind of going on and the advantages that this program allows cities and stuff like that to take advantage of. Because I knew it had been so long since we just had
Well, it
a
has.
discussion.
I mean, there's been a lot of, and here again, this is, and you're saying that the money that you'll be paid will be financed through you, or would be financed through our city?
Let me make sure I understand the question. So we've already reached out to multiple banks to provide us term sheets once the scope is finalized and the savings are finalized. And then the city would finance and have a contract with whichever bank gets chosen, whoever has the best terms and conditions. And then once that money is available, then we would start construction.
So it's via bond and it's
Via
not coming
bond.
out of our operating budget at all.
Okay, but the city would still be, at the end of the day, liable for the bond, the payment of the bond. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But I'm sorry to interject. I think I want to, because this is the kind of stuff I really want to make sure we're here for. So we would be responsible for the debt service, but the guarantee
Covers that.
covers the debt service. And if they don't have the guarantee, like, then they're on the hook for the guarantee. So yes, we're liable, but they supposed to provide us with the money through the guarantee.
Well,
Correct.
basically clear on that aspect of it. I guess what my my concern is the fact that this has been, what, 4 years since you guys first brought this forward to the city of Lawrence. Would that be correct?
Yeah,
It's not longer.
yeah, it was, the first
not longer.
proposal was delivered in 2015, correct.
So, I'm in the, mechanical industry myself, and that's a lifetime. I mean, that is absolutely a lifetime. A year ago, July is a lifetime. And I don't quite understand, for the interest of the taxpayers that are going to, I mean, I understand you guys are going to be, in essence, going to be saving us money, and that's going to pay for this bond. But at the best, or at the end of the day, could there possibly be a better deal from another vendor? And it's been 5 years ago. I mean, well, it has, Tyrone.
Everything's based on, take that old 5 years ago, throw it in the trash. Nothing that we're doing, I mean, there might be some pieces.
Okay,
of
fine, let's
budget.
throw it in the trash. So why would we not want to start over if it's
We already
been that
did.
long? But with one contractor.
We went,
There was a RFQ where we submitted as well as other companies submitted, that was about a year and a half ago.
That's still an eternity. Would you not agree?
I'm not disagreeing that but these things are marathons, they're not sprints. I mean, we want to make sure this works. We want this to be a great glowing reference, and we're on the hook for the performance of this program. So last thing we're going to do is rush a program to where it's not going to be successful long term. And there's been a lot of twists and turns with the scope development because there's been buildings pulled in, pulled out based on other long-term strategic master planning. So this has all been brought together with a lot of critical thought to make sure it's a success.
because I can
The whole
honestly,
point is, also, if I could just interject here, is that we don't want to start over because we already started over. And for me personally, I want to see us start getting the work done. And starting over would mean another year. And we can't just keep going down the roads with these improvements that need to be made. We need to start this work, in my opinion, ASAP. Like, it needs to happen. And we've already reviewed, we've gone through the RFQ process. We selected Perfection Group. We're now at a point where the administration and Perfection Group have agreed on the scope of the project, in essence. And now it's gonna eventually come to us. And looking forward to majority of the council supporting it, so then we can start seeing the work getting done, to your point. If not, we're probably doing this over again with a new council, having to look at this all over again, and then we're starting the process all over again. This sort of happened at the tail end of the last council. So then it started all over again with us. Really, more than 2 years after we were put in place.
Well, if I may add to that, this has drug on, not due to these people, and not really due, I don't think, to the administration as much as it's just due to the council. Would you not agree?
no. So here's what happened. So when we started the clock in July, right? So when we started, I've been, keeping my eye on this and communicating with the city as well as Perfection, just, an overview. So the key of it was when we started in July, they went back and the city asked them, and we're gonna have the city do a presentation to discuss too, and they can talk to you. They said the other terms were under the previous administration and what they wanted. The city came back this time and said, these are the things that we want you to look at. Then when IPL and all the opportunity with IPL and what was going on with Indianapolis and Marion County, the city and I both, and I think Lisa was involved, to say, hey, let's take a look and see if we can take advantage of the same things that are happening in Indianapolis. But then, like he said, they didn't have the program completed. I mean, we had to wait at one point in time. I know there was a hearing by the state energy. Yeah, they had to approve IPL's plan before IPL could even put it out there for us to get involved in. Then I'll be quite honest with you, these folks have a lot of respect and won't say it, but I'll be really truthful. Then unfortunately, the untimely death of Mr. Streeter and he was implementing this slowed us down a little bit. So we want to make sure our ducks was right there. And so it's just been some process. And then we had Ice Miller get involved to protect the city. They're here to talk about their representation, and they took time to review. And so it's just we're now at the place where the project is done, and you're going to see that project in the proposal is done pretty much, and you're going to see that in a couple weeks. So I mean, we're a year at the end of the dance, but we're basing this off of current information and current status, not what happened 4 years ago. These folks were just brought in before, we just known about them, but today's is based off of today's needs, today's money, today's situation, So I think we just take the 4 or 5 years ago, and that's not what we're looking at today. I don't know if that's helpful or if that made any sense.
That does.
Maybe you should have the administration come up.
Right, okay. So
That might help.
Yeah, that might help so you can see from their side, and that's another reason we want to have them there. So I think with Rob, if you're kind of cool right now, in case we have any other questions, we'll bring you back up. I think now there'll be a good time, as you said, Lisa, to bring up whomever. I don't know if Mr. Fenwick or Ice Miller, so I don't know who's going to speak for your behalf, but we'd love to have you now. I mean, we can.
We don't have a presentation per se to present, but I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what's already been discussed, which is, this has, it's been a well thought out process in order to get, the proper facilities and what we're going to do in the facilities identified. And so, I mean, we've probably met on a monthly basis for the last, 12 months.
Right.
And so to that point, we wanted to make sure when we finally had everything that was legitimately identified that we could get to put into this proposal, and that's where we are. The one complication to this point is this building, because obviously police will be moving out later this year. Will have to be some reconfigurations of office spaces, and so that was a struggle initially in terms of when do we do the energy savings portion, because we may have to knock out some walls and some other things. Do we put it in and then knock it out? So it was back and forth, but I think we've gotten a handle on that now. So like you said, hopefully sometime next month, we'll have our recommendation collectively as to what we think the best path forward for the city on this is.
Right. One thing, Jason, I think I'd like for you to elaborate to the council just a little bit. You don't have to get into the weeds, but since we're talking about the scope of work that gone into this, I remember you and Rob have worked diligently to, I don't want to use the wrong words. I don't want to say, you had to take a look at our current budget because we had forecast some things to come out of our regular money that now will be handled by the energy savings. And so he had an opportunity to free some things up, loosen some things up, and so maybe you can speak a little bit to that.
And I think that's, to your point, kind of initially, Rob and I met several times just one, to give them a better understanding of our budget. Where do we pay? Because we don't just pay for electricity out of one line item in one department. So it was helping get familiarity on our budget, where things are, so that when they do put a guarantee on it, we know where those dollars are in our budget to then pay for the financing of this. Mm-hmm. And again, he's probably can put our budget together for us next month if we would like. So, and there is familiarity there. So, but that's a process. And, quite frankly, I mean, it seems like, the years gone by pretty quickly, but, that's probably about the right amount of time to really go through this.
The lighting scope is huge, that we did not have that opportunity. If we'd have started this 2 years ago, we would have been maybe revisiting, looking at energy savings to add the lighting in, because this is an awesome opportunity to light up. And as you know, many of our constituents and folks in the city are very, very, that's something that I think that we should be proud of, and that our people can really see the effect of it. I don't know if you want to go into the particulars next week about when that starts, and I just know there's some particulars about that they'll be able to share with you maybe next week. Do you have any other questions for him? I don't want us just to linger on too long, but I want to make sure that you guys are all comfortable with this so that we can basically sell this or be able to at least communicate this to our other fellow counselors. And that's what I wanted to make sure that we were able to do, because this is, people are going to be talking.
So this will be brought to the full council next Monday?
No.
No. You're talking next week. What are you talking about next week?
I'm sorry if I used this. I'm sorry if I was I'm figuratively speaking. Sorry.
The next meeting of this,
Of this committee?
Of this committee will
So
be
there'll be another committee meeting
right
to discuss this.
to
Proposal.
to discuss the actual. They'll have the actual proposal on the table then, and then we could take a look at the. We'll be looking at the scope in a more detailed way. With that, but I just wanted to make sure that we were comfortable with understanding what we're doing here, because it had been so long, with it. So I just wanted to make sure that we were comfortable with that.
and I'd just like to reiterate what Counselor Chavis said, that the need's severe. I mean, just look at our facilities, this building alone, we tend to have some kind of maintenance mechanical issue every time it either gets too warm or too cold outside. So the savings on this building alone would be significant, let alone the fire stations and the other facilities. So, I mean, this is definitely will be of great benefit to the city and the taxpayers.
And we'll see that with this upcoming proposal when we see it. All right. Any questions for Mr. Fenwick or Perfection Group at this time?
No.
Okay. I would ask that possibly after we adjourn here, if the folks from Perfection Group could share their contact information with the counselors. If they have any follow-up, we can, email them something in case you have any follow-up questions or anything prior to. Okay. Otherwise, meeting adjourned. Thank you.